Yeah, welcome to another JavaPro video. Today with Rudy De Busscher. Hi, Rudy. It's nice to have you this interview, and was nice to have you at JCON. How are you?
Yeah, thank you, Marcus, for this opportunity. Yeah, it's going fine. We have a few presentations now online, of course, due to the circumstances. But after all, yeah, we can still do our thing. We can talk about what makes us happy every day in our work, etc.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's still a nice opportunity that we have all those online conferences.
Yeah, great. And how was the JCON for you?
Yeah, there were a few interesting questions. So the people were really interested in what I was talking about. So I got some nice feedback, some interesting questions. So it was one of the most interactive one that I did last month. So yeah, it was a really nice one.
Oh, really? Cool. Yeah, thank you. Rudy, maybe you can tell our audience a little bit who are you, what are you doing at Payara, and what are you doing at the Java EE community?
Yeah, okay. So yeah, my name is Rudy De Busscher, working for Payara. Everything related a bit with a bit the technical side of sales and marketing these days. So if customers or potential customers have questions, I answer them, or I write some guides for the marketing, some blogs, and I do them presentations, of course, to tell a bit about Payara, but most of the time, more general things. Like this talk was now about Kubernetes and writing a Java operator for Kubernetes. So we always try to combine the product, the Payara platform, with some general interest around Jakarta, around enterprise, around microservices, around Docker and Kubernetes, etc. So that people can see how you can use it in a certain situation.
Okay, for the people who are not familiar with Payara, maybe you can introduce Payara in 2 sentences.
Well, yeah, Payara is one of those products that implement the Jakarta Enterprise specification. So we are now Jakarta E8 compliant. So we run with every release all the TCK tests. So if you have an application, an old Java EE application or a Jakarta EE application, you can run them on Payara. So that will run fine. Payara has also a lot of additional features on top of that around monitoring specifics, because an application is more than just providing you the functionality for the end user. It's also for operations that you need to keep an eye on it if it's running fine, if there is maybe an issue with memory or CPU. So those things are also important. So that's things that we provide on top of that. And we provide the classic server, as they call it, the application server, but we also have the Payara Micro, which is an optimized version for microservices to run in Docker and Kubernetes, etc.
Yeah. And your talk was about creating a Kubernetes operator in Java. So maybe, I guess most people know what Kubernetes is, but maybe some do not know exactly what is it. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about Kubernetes.
Well, indeed, Kubernetes is known by a lot of people, but most of the people think that it just, you can create a deployment that starts up your pod or create a service, etc., and that's it. But Kubernetes is much more than that. It is basically an entire platform created from day one with the automation in mind. So it is not just for starting up that single container or those few containers for you and keep an eye on it and restart when it is failing, for instance. The idea was that you create your automation, create your own requirements. You have for your company a certain set of requirements that certain servers needs to be up and together, needs to interact when they start up, needs to prepare some initial data, etc., etc. And all that is possible with those operators. So it is you create them, you watch what's going on inside the system, and you can react on that. So that was there from day one, and it is really the purpose of Kubernetes. And not a lot of people know that you can do all those things. And yeah, the second point is, yeah, if you say Kubernetes, everyone says, oh, it is written in the language Go. So yeah, why should I learn Go to do all those things? Well, it is perfectly possible to do all those things with Java, because they have just an API. They expose REST endpoints where you can launch commands and query the status of Kubernetes, etc., the internal systems. So there is no need at all to write all those things in Go. You can do it perfectly fine in a Java program, just a simple class, a main method, the classic public static void main, and you use one of those Kubernetes clients. There are 2 or 3 available as open source, and you can start interacting with the Kubernetes server and the cluster, and you can basically do whatever you like. You can create custom types of YAML, which then modify your cluster, which alter your processes, which makes new things possible, which are not foreseen by default with the deployment and a service. So basically you can do whatever you like with those operators. And that was then the goal of that talk, so that you can see from the beginning, from step 1, where you just connect to that API and see, oh yeah, I have there a possibility to list all the pods, until the very end, where you create a custom YAML file, execute command, so that new pods are created, that shell scripts are run within that pod, etc., etc. So that was then the end goal of that final demo.
Okay, yeah, sounds very interesting. Yeah, what do you think is the reason why this is not known by the developers, that we can use Kubernetes for different things you mentioned in your session? So what is the reason actually? Do they not need these functions, or is it too complex for beginners maybe? Or
well, I think a bit of all those things. Not everyone needs those operators. Sometimes you just have your Docker container, your Docker image, and you want to start it up, and you want to start up 2 or 3 instances at the same time, which are linked with the service, so that you have some kind of load balancing, and that's enough. And then it's perfectly fine. Other people probably do not know that all those things are there, and of course, it is more or less also advanced things. So it is not writing such a Kubernetes operator is not that difficult once you know how you can do it, but it's not done in an hour. You need to research a bit, and it takes a few days until you get the hang of it. From yeah, it works in this way, and then I get feedback in those cases, etc. So you need to become familiar with the way of working with it, Kubernetes. So it's a more advanced usage, but certainly a lot of companies can benefit from those things.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. What do you think, for whom is this interesting? Do you can you mention some use cases, for instance, where I need such operators?
I would say in any case where you have a little bit of more complex scenario. As I said, if you just have one single container and you start it up, then you don't need it. but there are situations, for instance, with the Payara platform, if you create a cluster, then you need to do several manipulations. Doing that only with a container is very difficult. If you have done such an operator, then it becomes suddenly much easier to do. Okay, the first hurdle is that you have to learn it, but then once you know it, then those things become relatively simple. So when is it useful? Well, from the moment that you have a situation where you have something above the normal complexity, where you have several interactions between services, between systems and all those things, then it can become interesting to have a look at it.
Okay, cool. Do you have some suggestions for beginners? Any resources where they can find good documentation to get started?
Well, that was a bit also a funny thing. I saw something similar on another conference, and until then I did not know it was there. So it is that those operators, and especially that you can write them in Java, is a bit a hidden feature. So there are a few resources on the internet where you have also that kind of the type of examples where they guide you through setting such a thing up from the beginning, simple, and then the more and more complex. So by looking at those, you can learn a lot. What is a good thing is, like I mentioned, there is those client libraries written in Java which interact with that Kubernetes API. The examples which are related to that one are very nice, and then you can learn a lot from those, how they use the Kubernetes API, and then you can learn that for your own program, for your own operator.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, but also your video, right? Your session. So if this is a hidden feature, then yeah, everybody who is interested in Kubernetes operator, how to write them in Java, should now watch your session and the video with Rudy.
Yep.
It's now online. You can download it from JCON.1. No, you can watch it on JCON1. And yeah, Rudy, thank you. Was great to have you at JCON. Thank you for your time being with us. And yeah, thank you all for watching this video. And if you like the video, please subscribe our channel. And yeah, thank you and see you. Goodbye.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Bye, Rudy.